morning once again this Friday as the weekend for us on SOUQ News Television started yesterday. My name is Ikenna Mbayo onto SOUQ Business Landscape. As usual, I got my guests. We jump right to it. Dr. Idahosa OsamhanzeVP, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Good Nigeria. And we have Chooks John Rogers, as usual. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, the globe.
Yes. So we jump right to it with Business Day from Nigeria. Nigerians' healthcare woes worsen as states struggle to tap 128 billion naira fund. They're trying to access this as, last time we spoke about healthcare being worsening. In fact, it's across board. I don't know if it has to do with inflation, if it has to do with productivity. How do we explain the craziness that's happening in healthcare? Your take, Chooks.
Explaining craziness happening in healthcare.
Yes.
That will take a whole lot of studying to explain. But the thing is, for that particular sector, what's happening there is the same thing that is happening in every sector. Now, for those that are wondering, we're talking about Nigeria. What's happening there is not peculiar to that sector alone. For that sector to operate, we need to see it in two ways. First, as social service, then second, as also business. Now, when we look at the business side of it and forget the social side of it, there's a problem for the country and the people. When we look at the social side of it and forget the business side of it, there's also a problem. So it has to do with management in that sector, management from the ministry in that sector, then also management from the people operating in that sector. Now, we still have an issue of personnel, trained personnel.
Dwindling personnel.
Well, it depends on how you do it. So we still have a problem of trained personnel.
Because they keep leaving.
Yes, yes, that's part of the problem, but people still keep coming this way. So there is just a problem with a whole lot of sectors, not just that particular one. So if we say let's focus on that, then a lot of things have to be addressed to make sure that works. If the person producing fast food is having issues, why would the hospitals have issues?
Another worry is the access to the 128 billion fund.
Funds from who?
Yeah, I think the issues are the inability of some states in Nigeria to really be responsible. And we cannot but continue to emphasize the fact that Nigeria is a federation of 30 tiers. And the Constitution, by its design, has given rules to each of these tiers of government, and there are basic things that they should be providing for the people. Basic healthcare is something, primary healthcare at the local government, basic healthcare at the state, and then the federal government has its own.
Tertiary healthcare.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the act itself that established this fund, the federal government is contributing 70% to this fund. The states are supposed to be doing a counterpart funding of 25%, and then local governments do theirs, put 5%, and so you have a total. But here, federal government is contributing. States cannot even meet their obligation of doing the 25%, and therefore they cannot access it. The money is there. But there are criteria that you will need to meet to be able to assess this fund. And that's why I keep saying, I think we need a lot of education in Nigeria, really, people to understand how federalism works. Because every time we speak about federal arrangement, the kind of things that come to our mind here is only about sharing of money. And I don't think that federalism has to do with sharing of money. And that's why when you see people sit on TV talk about, oh, Nigeria is not practicing a federal state, we are doing a unitary state, is because they're always emphasizing how to share money.
what is coming from the center.
Yes, what's coming? Well, yes, the money that is being shared from the center. So the laziness that is ongoing in most states really don't worry so many people. So when you go around today, everybody talk about, oh, Nigeria is not working because the federal government is not doing anything. So we don't even accede any role to the states, as it were. And that failure had consistently really backtracked the federation. Because if the states are doing what they should do, local governments are doing what they should do, the federal government will only just be complementing. And then we'll see development everywhere. And this is when people are talking about, getting to govern Nigeria, you're asking, of course, people have been at the state level, what did they really do? This person was a local government chairman. What was he able to do for the period that he spent as a local government chairman?
But Doc,
He can't even sink one single borehole in his community. Now he wants to become Senator of the Federal Republic, wants to become President of the Federal Republic. And we're wondering, what magic wand will Abuja give to them? Because all we are looking at is how to just take that money, share it, put it in the pocket, and let people walk away. But I think it is high time that Nigerians really begin to demand governance from those who are the second and the third tiers of government in Nigeria, and then, of course, make them responsible, as it were. So we won't be having some of these issues that is being highlighted here on Business Days this morning.
Well, you see, I wanted to point to the fact that you talked about the third tier, local governments contributing their quota. Many times, there's word around that said that they haven't even been getting what they're supposed to get.
It's really
So how do they contribute?
It's really not. That's not the issue.
What is?
Take, for example, Lagos is doing between 45, 55 billion monthly as IGI. What Lagos is getting from Abuja is not up to 11 billion. So which means they are making more money at home than they are looking forward to Abuja. I think that's the question here. There are a lot of things that local governments can do to generate funds internally. Nobody will come and share that with them.
Aside whether people
So what people are talking about is that the one that is coming from Abuja that the states are taking. But these are some of the issues that we find because the local government chairmen themselves have become the appendages of the governors. And I think this was the issues that the INEC chairman was raising recently,
right,
that the way coronations are done at SOUQ level is harmful to democracy.
It is.
Where you just see local government, state governor handpick those who become chairmen of the local government, those who become councillors, and therefore they are the mercy of the state governors, and they can't function independently. This is the problem, and I think that is the real thing that is worrying our federation. And you also see that when elections are going on in the state, every state aspiring governor is going to Abuja to go to get some anointing from the powers that be. Now, when you run a federation like that and people are not independent, they can actually not think.
Can't function.
Look at it. When the other 10 of the past regime really had empowered local government to collect their money directly, the state went to court. I expected that the local government too would have gone to court to challenge what was going on at the state, to say, if federal government is giving us autonomy and say, let our allocation come directly from the federation to the local, then we will be able to say, okay, it is our benefit. But let me tell you the real thing. In some of those local governments in the rural area, their local government chairmen really do not stay in the local government
vicinity.
And therefore, they don't have the front really to face the governor to say that they are working. because the government know that they are not working, so they are just representing them.
See, this could go on forever and ever, and it's a long drawn out topic that could have branches into so many things. So we're on to the next headline: PMI expansion signals stronger economic growth in Q1. So the Purchasing Managers Index, which has been a long-serving indicator of economic growth, whether up or down, has said this, that according to data, will probably expanded PMI in the first 3 months of 2024. Now, this is something that is one thing to hope, is another thing to wish. It's another thing to actually work to see this the economy grow.
Which country is that?
Nigeria, Wales.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but
Do we need too much of forecasting?
No,
Is that our problem?
I think it's not an issue about forecast. I think the real challenge here is also to look at it. Is it a value that is increasing?
Yes.
Or is it a volume?
Or is it the businesses themselves?
Yeah, but no, that's what I mean by volume.
We need to break it down
we need
so that
to know what is increasing.
what exactly is
Yeah,
increasing.
because if value is what is increasing, and we are going to use that to determine growth,
Then talk about
then there's
inflation.
something wrong.
Yes, because inflation has given you
Yeah,
numbers.
because when you are using value and say, okay, because I spent 20 billion 2 years ago or last year, and I'm spending 40 billion today, it means that we have expanded. The question is to see, you have to look at what 20 billion could buy last year and what 40 billion is buying
now.
this year. So that will be able to really say whether we have made some expansion or whether we're actually retrogressing. But to use value really may not be a better way to measure whether there's expansion or growth. And I think volume will better speak to it. That you are saying we are doing more business now because we used to take 20 tons. Today we are buying 80 tons, which means we are producing more.
And
then
more
there's more money that is coming in. And I think for me, those are the kind of things that one should really be looking at.
So now we ask again, which country?
Do you have any other country but your faithful motherland?
It's
or is it fatherland now?
It's news. It's news, so it could be Asia, it could be West.
At the beginning we said
It could be an African country.
We are still on business day.
We are still on business day.
I know you're a bit under the weather, but I understand.
Okay. You're welcome.
On to Financial Express, Bangladesh. Government borrowing plan unlikely to be altered. So the government from the Bangladesh Bank went as high as 743 billion up April last month. And for the past 2-3 episodes of the show, we've been talking about how Bangladesh has been fantastic. Could it be behind this borrowing? 743 billion.
It's not behind the borrowing. The thing is this. If you remember the last time we talked about Bangladesh, we knew that the banks, the international giving banks, without mentioning names, are looking for headway in that particular economy. That is for sure. So it's not more like give us a policy, they will take our money, they will hold. No, they want to get into that economy. And there is a China on the other side. So there is a competition, not just business-wise, but political-wise too. But Bangladesh on their own, they have been doing well. They've taken a niche that they are very good at, and they are working at it and get it better. Will the economy keep growing? We wish and we pray.
Yeah, but
what can Africa emulate from what is happening there?
It's just to also put it in perspective that, like people always have argued, borrowing is not a problem. People grow by OPM, other people's money. Once you put that into productivity, what you get is the fact that you are going to get more productive. It's heartening to note that Bangladesh are doing excellently well, and they're investing in capacity building, they are investing in infrastructure development and the rest of it to see how they can remain very competitive. And of course, we have commended them severally, especially in the area of garment making, production of wools and the rest of it. So if these monies are going into production, chances are that, of course, they will be able to pay back. But what is not healthy is when you are borrowing to finance social programs.
Or squander.
So
borrowing to pay salaries.
Yeah, of course, that's part of it. If you're borrowing for overhead, and all you do is take money and you want to help the poor, and you are not creating the wealth, then you will not be able to pay back, and then of course your credibility with the lenders or the creditor become really in doubt. And when you really need money for help, and nobody will be out there to help you.
Low-cost Indigo Airlines to offer business class. So Indigo is one of India's low-cost airlines, and surprisingly, most of the announcements they made a few hours ago is they're introducing business class, and people are wondering how does that help the business?
It helps the
Because
business.
you are known for low cost.
Yes.
People are flocking to you.
Oh, yes.
Low level economy.
Oh, yes. Doc gave an analysis earlier on. He said volume and value. Now, within that same low class and low cost, there is still a class of people that want to be differentiated.
On the top
yes.
of that.
Yes. So now, India, we know what their population is like. So they know what the traffic is like.
Uncountable.
So good. Now, they want to increase the fleet. And to increase the fleet, they want more people and they want value. So they're giving you options. Hey, you cannot fly those A-grade airlines, but hey, you can still come fly with us. And it's going to work.
Yeah, but I think it's a very beautiful business model to also know that there's an emerging market that needs to be catered for. Once you are in business and you are not able to look at or scan your environment to know what are the new opportunities and possibilities within the market, chances are that you will be losing out. Now, as airfares are increasing worldwide, and of course, the disposable income of the average man is also going down. So the possibility of people doing luxury is also going down.
True.
So if you can get luxury at the low end, it's worth the while. And I think that's what Chooks is speaking to. So you find that people who used to be doing economy in those luxurious airlines may not even have the capacity, but they still will need to fly. So you have to create their kind of economy in the luxury, in your low fare
That's ingenious
program. And so I think that is targeting a market that is not being attended to because of the challenges that the economy is experiencing. For me, I think it's a beautiful business model.
Awesome. So tucked away in the middle of this paper, China's loss, India's gain. So this is coming off the trade war between China and the US, and China's slowing economy. India overtakes China in fintech deals.
Which paper is carrying this exactly?
What's the paper now? The Bangladesh paper.
Financial Express.
Financial Express. Okay.
Why is that important?
Yes, we really need to know who's pushing this narrative.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a narrative, but this is just going to be natural. You see, the
China suffered for a while.
Yeah, but the issue is the fact that China has been stagnating.
Yes.
They've been dealing with issue of deflation, while most nations are experiencing inflation. And that's what they've been trying to cope with. You also find a population that is stagnant, or not stagnant, is actually going down. So a more vibrant Indian economy population is likely to do better than a China that is aging.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah, so that is what it is. Because even in terms of population, India has since overtaken China as the most populated country on earth. So in everything, you find that the dynamics definitely will have to change. And this is the dynamics of humans that at a certain point in time, China had to implement their one-bed policy. Even now that they are trying to put incentive of at least have a two-child, the young Chinese are already used to no bed policy and nobody want to have a child. So this is a problem. And that's an economic problem. You see, this is where people always talk about balance. And there's no one-size-fits-all approach or policy to life that you just put something down and then, of course, you cannot review it. You know, today people talk about a smarter arrangement in terms of plan and strategy. It has to be specific, measurable, it has to be achievable, something that is realistic, time-bound, and then, of course, you have to also evaluate.
Regularly.
evaluate regularly, and readjust or reward as it may apply. So sometimes we need to put policy in place and think that these things are going to go on forever. No, it's not going to last forever. We must find a way to create those balance so that the problem you are trying to solve today will not become a hydra-headed one in the near future. So these are some of the things that we are saying. And India is taking every advantage. We're talking about India yesterday in one of our shows, and we're looking at how India has strategically positioned and deliberately
Came from the back of nowhere.
positioned themselves to see how to grab the entire world economy. And India is not fighting anybody. India is not quarreling with anybody.
They're playing their role.
You know, like our former president once said, I am for nobody, I am for all. So that is the case of India.
So, but I want to speak to something that you mentioned, population control. It seems like it's something that's strongly essential, but at the same time, you can't force anyone to do that. How is this going to be managed? We're talking about India surpassing China, and China putting themselves in check already. Then Africa is a huge worry because you see the people below poverty line are doing 3, 4, 5, 6 children. How are we planning to manage population control across the world?
Who's managing population control?
I don't think Africa really have a population problem right now, really.
We have a production problem.
I think that's where the real issues are. The problem in Africa is laziness at the moment. And this is the inability of some people to do what they are supposed to do. And we cannot but continue to speak to the decadence in the system where people feel entitled and there's no productivity going on. And they feel entitled that you need to pay them the more.
So are you saying well, if you're productive, you can have as much as 8, 9, 10 children?
Yeah, but you see, what we're saying is that when you look at what nature has given to us as Africa, in terms of the landmass, in terms of the resources that is in here, we will still need more people to be able to actually exploit.
More productive people.
To be able to exploit. So population for us now is not a problem. Because, like they say, if you look at the map of the world, it's only Africa that is still having over 60% of uncultivated land. Yes, it's only in Africa. So that is a plus. And you really need human hands to be in those areas. But it's not to say that we can continue to produce children like a bakery. Because we must also be wary of what is going to happen tomorrow. Because this is also this is where planning is important.
Strategic planning.
I remember when I was doing my master's program some years ago, University of Lagos, and we're having this conversation. And then one of our lecturers said, you see, when Babangida came up in the 1980s to say, oh, Nigeria, 4 child per family, that, look, as economists, he was feeling really weird. I said, look, where's this man coming from? I had my last child in 1974, and it came by mistake because the economy of Nigeria could not support 4 children per family as at 1974.
At the time.
As of 1974.
74. So the economy could not support it. So that's also very instructive that, yes, while we're going to have children, we must do it reasonably so that we don't overstretch what nature has given to us. So that's very fundamental. So that balance, that balance between what we need to do and how to do it, we need to strike it at government level so that we don't create further problem while we're trying to solve one.
There's this very unpopular saying that children are very expensive, only the poor can afford them.
Ouch.
Now,
That hurts.
let's go back to
That's pinched a bit.
let's go back to India and the fintech. Now, also remember that India, over time, positioned themselves in that IT sector.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And over time, generation after generation followed. And how can you beat them?
They were preparing for the future.
They were not prepared, they are prepared for it.
Awesome. So on to Gulf Times, India. Qatar-China trade volume rises to $6.8 billion in the first quarter. So announced by their Minister for Commerce. It actually went up 3.7%. So they made an extra 200 million, right? China is Qatar's largest trade partner.
Oh, yeah. There's no, because you see, Qatar is also trying to muzzle up power in the Gulf region.
It's growing at an immense rate.
Oh yeah, because there seems to be a competition in the Gulf region to see who is really the biggest and who is more
Qatar,
powerful.
Saudi.
Oh yeah, Qatar, Saudi, the UAE, and
Oman.
all of them are working very seriously to see how. And I think this is a healthy competition that is actually happening in the Gulf region. And that for me is the kind of competition that we need in Africa also, where people are struggling to overdo the other in terms of development. And you know that the GCC states, the 9 of them, they actually have bonded together so well that they have a way of providing assistance for one another.
Yes.
You can imagine when Qatar was hosting their World Cup, all the hotels in UAE were fully booked. I was looking for a venue for an event in Dubai. There was none, fully booked. And there were 3 flights that were going from Qatar to the UAE on a daily basis. So, yeah, the event was not happening in Dubai. The event was in Qatar. But the biggest beneficiary was Dubai. Because a whole lot of people came into Dubai and they go to Qatar in the evening, in the morning, come back to UAE in the evening. And so they are profiting themselves. And so it's not any surprise to see that China is doing so much because there's a lot of construction going on in Qatar and investment is also going on high. And so this, of course, account for what we always talk about. When people are productive, what do you expect? Businesses go up, profit is increasing, margin is expanding.
They're keeping it in the family. On that note, this family floats out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of it. Remember, hashtag SBL on YouTube as you comment on these headlines. Thank you, Dr. Osamhanze. Thank you, Chukchun Rogers. My name is Ikenna Mba. See you Monday, actually. I'm fast forwarding. Have a lovely morning.